Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Fabulous Plenty in the AITA subreddit. The post is titled AITA for refusing to pay for my GF's plane ticket after she decided to stay longer on her trip without me. So here's the deal. My girlfriend of 2 years and I planned a 2-week vacation to Italy. I paid for the flights, hotels, everything because I make more than she does and I wanted it to be a stress-free trip for both of us. Everything was great until the last day when she tells me she wants to stay longer to find herself and think about our relationship without me. She didn't discuss this with me beforehand and it completely blindsided me. I was hurt and told her that if she feels she needs time alone, then she should also be independent financially during this extension of her trip. I said I wouldn't be paying for her new return ticket whenever she decides to come back. Now, she's upset, calling me unsupportive and selfish, and some of our friends are saying I'm being an a-hole because I left her stranded in a foreign country without financial help. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for her new plane ticket home after she chose to extend her trip without any heads up? Update. Thank you to all the people who responded, especially the early ones who gave some outside verification of me probably not being the asshole. I don't feel comfortable saying I'm completely blameless here because you're only getting one side of the story and I need to take responsibility for my part in this whole thing, such as it is. But I guess I never realized how good my girlfriend was at making me feel like unreasonable stuff was normal and rational and that I was the crazy one. So here's the update. We're both back in America now and she's packing her stuff to go stay with her family for a bit until she can find a new place. Soon after I posted, it was time to go to the airport, so I did without her. I'm one of those people who arrives really early because I never think I'll get to the gate in time because everything that could go wrong probably would go wrong. I was there for about an hour by myself, mulling things over and talking to my mom. I looked at a couple of responses to this post, but I didn't trust that I wouldn't lose it if I started responding, and I definitely didn't want to burst into tears while I was in the airport. As I was talking to my mom, my girlfriend showed up. I guess she thought I was bluffing but had a rude awakening when the hotel staff kicked her out of the room because I'd only paid through that day. I took no small amount of satisfaction in this, not gonna lie. She'd been so concerned about the plane ticket that she didn't even stop to think about where she was going to stay. As many of you guessed, she met someone while we were in Italy. She was quick to tell me that it was just a physical attraction and that they hadn't done anything, but she had his social media handle and was wanting to see if it'd go anywhere. I guess that's what I get for not feeling well and wanting to stay in one night while she went out to explore. Obviously, I told her things were over between us. Even though she tried to make it sound like nothing had happened, the fact was I couldn't feel like I could trust her when she said that, and I don't really want to be with someone who feels like it's okay to still keep her options open when she's been in a monogamous relationship for the past 2 years. The flight home was awkward as heck, and she tried really hard to give another pitch for why we should stay together on the drive home from the airport. I think as we got closer to home, reality started setting in, and she realized she'd just thrown a lot away. So yeah, I am jet lagged and physically and emotionally exhausted. I'm just kind of numb at this point. Finally, I didn't see all the comments, but to the few that were downvoted into oblivion who said this was fake because I hadn't updated in several hours, screw you. I was looking for reasonable dissenting opinions that might have helped me make sense of this situation, and you're accusing me of making this up for random internet points? Believe it or not, my priority was not to tell a bunch of strangers on the internet how my world was falling apart around me. I know it's easy to think that these people aren't real and their struggles are meaningless because screens divide us, but ironically, you're the assholes. User Bobo Fiddlestick said, "Not the asshole. You didn't leave anyone stranded, and why would you be willing to foot the bill for this extension of the vacation that you're not on? Sounds like something the person taking the extended vacation should pay for, surely. I decided to spend some more of your money isn't and shouldn't become acceptable in your relationship. I might be somewhat rough around the edges when it comes to stuff like this, but I've only ever in my life internalized and reacted to messages like, I need to find myself, or we have to take a break to think about the relationship as one thing, and that is, you do what you do, I'm moving on ahead. Don't ever act like you are in a relationship with someone who demands the right to act like they are single." User Horfin said, "Not the asshole with the information provided. You didn't leave her stranded. She left herself stranded. She chose not to use the plane ticket you purchased and wanted you to just buy her a new one for some time later. presumably pay for her lodging and food as well, and all announce the day you were supposed to leave to go back home. If the financial burden was too much for her to bear, she could have just gotten on the airplane but asked for a seat change to be alone and think about the relationship. User Entertaining Tuesday said, I find the person in the wrong is usually the one running to their friends to share their narrative on the matter. She is the selfish one in this situation. You paid for everything. She accepted that. On the last day, she tells you that she doesn't want to use the ticket tomorrow that you already paid for so she can find herself and think about the relationship. In what world would you finance her thinking about your relationship? That is what is tremendously selfish here. Not that this would excuse her inappropriate timing to think about your relationship, but along with dropping this on you one day before your departure, she should have been the one saying she'd refund the ticket she is wasting that you already paid for and pay her own way. To me, this sounds like she wants some Italian dude, but that is just an assumption at this point. I hope along with not paying for her new ticket, you also aren't paying for her accommodations or any other expenses. If you are stateside and she is still in Italy, I hope you take this time to think about the relationship. You are not selfish. She is the one not only being selfish, but she is taking advantage of your support and in turn is leaving you thinking what? She is going to stay, potentially cheat, and think about dumping you while expecting you to pay. Lastly, the friends are delusional. You didn't leave her stranded in a foreign country without financial help. She chose to stay past the accepted departure date, so why would the assumption be you pay for everything? Is she not an adult? If she can make a personal decision to waste your money and disrespect you while implying she is going to think about the relationship, she should have had a plan to pay for it like a freaking adult does. Edit, went to the bathroom and thought of a great response. Granted, this in the moment probably wouldn't have thought of this myself, but anyway. I'm imagining if a woman said this to me and it was to think about the relationship, and I would have said, alright, I am canceling your return ticket. You can stay or do whatever you need to. There is no relationship to think about though because we are over. This next post was made in the relationship advice subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, Wife deleted a message from my ex telling me that she was pregnant 5 years ago. It's been almost 2 weeks since I found out. We've done the test and she's mine. My ex had sent me a message a couple weeks before giving birth, telling me about everything. My then girlfriend and present wife saw that my ex sent me a message and deleted it, then blocked her, apparently without reading it. Ex took that as me not wanting to be involved and raised our daughter all alone. For 5 freaking years. My daughter is turning 5 in a month, and I haven't even met her. Every time I think about how much I missed out on, I just lose it. I know I must focus on what I've gained instead of what I've lost, but damn, it's hard. It's taken me 2 hours just to write this out. I don't even want to start on what my ex had to go through alone and the desperation to reach out to my mother for help when she hates her nearly more than me. My wife says she's remorseful, that she was just very immature at the time and didn't think it could be that important, so much so she forgot about it. I've never loved anyone more than my wife. She supported me through so much. I believe that she actually feels bad and regrets it. She's pregnant, plus or minus 21 weeks pregnant, with our first child together. We're currently separated while I deal with everything, but I don't know how we'll move forward after this. Edit, to further elaborate, I found out through my mother, who was contacted by my ex about my daughter and how I ghosted her. I was talking to my wife about this and she confessed about deleting it and blocking it. Update. Got some messages asking for updates, and since my post got some attention, I thought I should publicly update. Long story short, I met with my ex last week just to properly explain myself and discuss the whole what now situation. It didn't end up being productive and was mostly filled with awkward silence with a few miniature arguments. Towards the end, she said that she'd been talking to a lawyer and didn't want me to be involved and will be seeking full custody of our daughter with no visitation, as well as suing me for back child support and getting me on child support. So that was fun. To be clear, I was always going to provide more than my fair share for any child of mine. I really don't know how any of this works, but I haven't received anything from the court or something, so it could have just been a threat, but she seemed serious. Regardless, I decided to find myself a lawyer to help me instead of waiting around, and eventually got linked with an old friend's brother whom I'm meeting tomorrow, which is great. My wife and I are trying to work things out. Due to the lawyer and court situation, financially speaking, we couldn't get an actual therapist, but my wife's pastor offered to provide marriage counseling for us. We only had 2 sessions before before the family drama broke out, and we temporarily put counseling on pause. Basically, the thing about my wife deleting the message leaked out to the rest of the family, which has led to my wife getting uncivil messages from a couple of family members. My lovely older sister also decided to add to the fire by posting about this on her social media. My wife has locked herself at home since and is taking everything quite badly since even her friends now know and have distanced themselves from her. I'm actually quite worried about it, but at least her mom is there with her and I try to check on her regularly. It's all just overwhelming. When I'm not thinking about my daughter, I'm thinking about my ex. When I'm not thinking about my ex, I'm thinking about my family drama, and when I'm not thinking about that, I'm thinking about my marriage and the pregnancy. And there's still work, so it's been a really terrible week. Finding it hard to maintain optimism and excitement for my daughter when all this has happened. Just a bad situation all around. This ended up being more of a vent, so sorry about that. I probably won't give another update in the future unless there's good news, so just thanks for the support. Update 2, it's quite a long story, so the more condensed version is that I've met my daughter, my ex and I handled the custody and support agreement ourselves, we're both committed to making this co-parenting thing work, and it's been going well so far. My wife and I are back at home and both excited about her nearing due date. We've decided to move on. The longer version, the last update ended with my ex threatening to fight me in court. Well, the lawyer I'd arranged suggested we give mediation a try and set that up with her lawyers and this mediator. Overall, the mediation went quite badly and seemed to be more detrimental to us ever cooperating. We only had 2 actual sessions and both were just filled with unnecessary fighting and no resolution. Funny enough, it was the chaos at the mediation that kind of proved to both of us we weren't interested in fighting each other indefinitely, and she reached out late in the evening after the second mediation asking to meet up the next day. In that meeting, we talked things out and listened to one another, sorted through some baggage from our relationship, as well as spoke about what exactly had been going on the past 5 years. Hours-long conversation, but it was totally worth it. We agreed that we'd make it work and put our daughter in the forefront. A meeting was arranged for me to drive over and see my daughter face to face, and I did. At the time, I wasn't introduced properly to her as her father, and she obviously was cagey around this random dude, but it was still great seeing her that first time. She was and is seeing someone to help with my transition into her life, and I've since been properly introduced to her, and she started calling me Papa, so things are going stunningly smoothly, and she's coping really well with it all. Plus, my ex has floated around the idea that if she could find a job or a better job where I am, she'd consider moving, so distance isn't too big of a problem, though that's still a big if. For now, I'll just keep driving up to her until we're acquainted enough to allow her to make the trip to me. The last update on my wife left things at my sister posting about everything and my family fighting with my wife. My sister has removed the post and apologized to my wife, although not sincerely, but still an apology. Still ongoing, but attempts at reconciling my family and wife are going more or less well. My wife momentarily moved to stay with her parents to get away from everything for about a month, but has since moved back to the house with me as we're soon expecting the birth of our child in the upcoming weeks. All extremely excited about that, and we've worked through our issues. I'm sure most of you will be disappointed by this, but I do 100% believe my wife and trust that she isn't some conniving person. She's still the woman I love, and we're all to blame for the circumstances that led to this whole situation. All we can do is focus on the future. Big thanks to everyone who's offered their support and wishes, as well as advice. I truly do appreciate all of it, and that's it. User Delicious Mix said, if I was pregnant by an ex and was contacting him to let him know, there is no way I would send a single text message. If I didn't get a response from that text message, I would send messages, emails, letters, and any other methods of contact I could think of to let him know. I would also immediately file for child support. I don't think the ex truly wanted him to know, or she would have tried harder. She did just enough to say she let him know. She obviously knew how to contact his mom, so there's that too. I don't know if the wife read the message or not. I would have, and I would have talked to my boyfriend about it immediately, but I know others wouldn't. They would be afraid he would go running back to his pregnant ex or think it was just a ploy by the ex to get back together. I have seen girls use the I'm pregnant card to get back together and then have a miscarriage after they are back together. User Blades Haxorus said, the wife is sorry for making her husband feel bad, not at all sorry that she forced another woman into being a broke single mother with no child support and separating the letter writer from his child for 5 years. She sounds like an overall horrible person who got bailed out for her bad actions because the letter writer's relatives were openly mean about it. User Big Weld said, "All the people trying to read between the lines and assert they know how people behave are some of the least helpful people on these posts. Life is stranger than fiction. The stories we write have to make sense for us to accept them as believable. Reality is under no such obligation. People act weird and make weird choices from our point of view because they have their own minds, reasons, motivations, traumas, and blind spots. Not believing the letter writer is one thing, and in doing so, we can't believe any of the post, but to assert our own details as if we were there is to create fiction." This last post was made in the infidelity subreddit by a user named Aggravating Pen. The post is titled, "My wife has been cheating on me while neglecting our 3 children. She's waiting to file for divorce, but scared I won't get my children. I just need to tell someone about this. I don't have anyone near me, and I feel like if I write it all out, then maybe it can clear my head. This will be long, but I am putting it out there because maybe if I get it written, then it will make sense to me. So I married my wife, let's call her May, in March of 2008. We met at a party through a mutual friend. She had graduated from a community college working as a paralegal, and I was finishing grad school for biomechanical engineering. We hit it off right away, and within a few months, we decided to officially start dating. May was great. She was pretty, smart, kind, and would give the shirt off her back if that meant that someone else would be warm. She has one sister that is important to this entire thing. I will call her Jane. Jane and May were not very close throughout their childhood, but they became closer as they grew older. When May and I had dated for a year, there was a conflict with her landlord, and she had 30 days to leave her apartment. I obviously did not want her to be homeless, so we decided to move in together. Things were great. One thing I admired is how simple May wanted our life. Things were early, but we were seriously dating. We talked about kids, about moving to a different part of the country, what we wanted in life, and it was like we both checked off all the boxes. When I finished my graduate degree, I proposed to May, and she said yes. At this point, we had been dating for close to 4 years. Both our families were thrilled, and we ended up having a small wedding, saving most of our funds for the future. My parents paid for half the wedding. I only have one brother who remains unmarried but with a partner, so they wanted us to have an actual wedding. It was really fun, and it was one of the best days in my life. After our wedding, we decided that we wanted to have kids. Additionally, I got a job with a big company, which forced us to move about 14 hours away from where we met. This was very hard on May because she really loved her family, and she was used to having them right there when she needed them. However, we had talked about this prior to getting married, and if the right opportunity presented itself, then we would take it. And this was that opportunity. So we moved down to a southern city in the US with a great school district and relatively moderate housing prices. That is why we didn't have such an extravagant wedding, because we put a down payment down on a house. It was weird having a house and this huge job, but May and I took it in stride. One thing about my work is that I am required to go on business trips. At first, it was for 1 to 2 days a week. However, as I progressed my way through the ladder, it soon became 5-day trips, from Monday morning to Friday evening. I felt bad because I knew it was difficult on May to have her husband away for so long, but I made sure we had constant contact, and when I got back, I wanted to make sure that I gave her all the dedication she deserved. Plus, the pay was really good for this job. I knew that if I could stick it out for a few years, we would have enough money to start looking into having kids. Well, things changed when May called me multiple times when I was at the airport getting ready to drive back home after my work week. It was odd because she would typically only call once or twice, but she then texted me frantically telling me that she needed me home. I asked her what was wrong, but she said to get there when I could. I flew out of the airport, and what was typically an hour drive was closer to 30 minutes. My heart was beating so badly out of my chest, and I was worried that something bad had happened. When I got back home, I flew through the door and it was completely dark. I started screaming for May, but it was completely quiet for a few seconds until the lights came on and May was holding a cake with a simple plus symbol on it. I looked at her and was confused. "What is this?" I asked, and then it dawned on me. I asked her if she was pregnant, and she said yes. We hugged, cried, and were so happy to finally be parents. We hadn't been trying, but we also wouldn't mind if we had children. From then, the next 4 years were an absolute whirlwind. We had 3 beautiful daughters, each one being about 18 months apart from one another. Things started to become crazy with having little children and my work continuing to pick up. I tried my best to be attentive and lessen my workload to help care for my children. What I did was make it so my trips were actually in town, so I didn't have to travel. I would start early in the day, helping May wake the kids, getting them ready, and before I would leave, I would ensure that they were packed, ready for preschool, and good to go. I would then come back in the evening around 6 to have a home-cooked meal and spend time with my daughters before bed. As the years progressed and my daughters got older, my work required me to increase my business trip days, and it was now every week that I was away Monday to Friday night. I would keep in constant contact with my kids, talking to them every day. On the weekends, I would make sure that we would have either an activity with just the girls and I so May could get a break, or all of us so we can have family bonding. The girls became more independent, and May was thinking of going back to school to get a certification in real estate, but we always held off on the idea until the girls were in their early teens. I encouraged May to go for it, but she also said that it was too much work with the girls, and being a full-time mom would make it difficult to get her certification. I didn't argue with her on it because what she was saying was absolutely true. Being a full-time mom was incredibly difficult, and maybe when the girls were teenagers or pre-teens, then May could get the certification. One evening, when the girls were in bed and May and I were in our room, she brought up the idea of moving. I was kind of surprised because I thought we both liked it where we were. Our girls grew up here. They had all their friends, all their interests, and they found this city as home. But May said that she was starting to feel suffocated and that this change would be the chance she could get to get her certification. She said it would be like a renewal. I told her that this would make my travel schedule even longer. Where we were was right near a major airport hub, so traveling was easy. But when I asked her where, she said she already knew where she wanted to be. It was right on the East Coast. She said she found this house she liked and maybe we could tour it on our next vacation to this area in about 2 weeks. I was kind of surprised about how much in depth she already knew where to go, and it was apparent she had been thinking about this for a while. I wanted to agree with her, but my thoughts were about our girls. Would it be fair for them to just suddenly uproot our lives and go to this place where they would have no friends or connections? 2 weeks later, we went on vacation. The girls were enrolled in tennis academy sessions as all of them were very dedicated and loved the sport. We had some free time and decided to go check out the place that May had looked at. Again, I was hesitant, but when we went to the area, May fell in love. Seeing her so happy made me wonder if moving was the right idea. I mean, we had vacationed at this place twice a year for 8 odd years. May then grabbed my hands and looked at me saying that this was where she wanted to live. I told her that the houses were far out of our price range considering we have 3 almost preteen girls that have to get to college, but she said she knew a house that would be right in our budget. It had been on the market for 8 months and was heavily discounted. There also was an open house the next day, so we went there and May just about was head over heels for this house. And within 2 months we had completely uprooted our lives and left. I thought we should have waited until the school year ended, but May was insistent to leave. We had talked to our girls and they were fine with it, though my youngest Lily seemed to be taking the move really hard. I noticed it first at how quiet she was. She said she was fine with moving, but I could see how difficult it was for her moving to a new school with only a couple weeks left to go. I sat down and talked with Lily, and she admitted that she said it was fine to move, but she felt like May had forced her to say yes. I told her that what she was telling me wasn't okay and that I understand her feelings and will talk to May about it. However, Lily said to not tell her because it would upset May. Respecting Lily's wishes, I didn't tell May, but there was something in my heart telling me that something was wrong. The school year ended and the girls were enrolled in a full-time tennis program within our neighborhood. Everything was right there. We lived in a gated community with a huge tennis center, multiple pools, and right outside was a named grocery store. The girls were in biking vicinity for everything and it felt like everything was going great. However, I noticed that Lily and our middle daughter Abby were starting to become more distant from May and me. We assumed it was because they were pre-teens and liked their freedom. May then said that she wanted to get her certification and I told her to go for it and that I would support her. Also, the girls were more independent, plus the classes were in the evening, so May would still be there for our girls when she left and got back when they were sleeping. I didn't like the idea of leaving our girls alone for so long, but the area was very safe, and the girls had a neighbor right next door if anything happened. Things were going well until one weekend when I was home in the afternoon making lunch. Lily got back home and didn't say hi to me. She had tears in her eyes and she went to her room, locking her door. I was majorly concerned and went to Lily's door and knocked on it, asking her what was wrong, but she just told me to leave her alone. I told her that if she wanted anything, she could go to my bedroom. After a few moments of silence, Lily unlocked her door and it was apparent she had been crying. She looked around and asked if Mom was there, and I said no, that she was studying at the library. Lily wiped her tears and hugged me, just crying. My heart ached and I just hugged her back, not knowing what to do. Only then did I really notice how small she had gotten. Lily was always a bit bigger in size despite doing lots of activities and eating regular and healthy meals. This summer, I noticed she had lost weight, but now I was seeing just how much weight she had lost. It had me concerned, but I wasn't sure what to say. I asked Lily what was wrong, but when we released, she just shook her head, said thank you, and closed the door. I was absolutely confused, unsure if this was just preteen emotions or if something was really wrong. My first instinct was to call May and ask her what to do, but I wanted to honor Lily's wishes, and so I didn't call May. However, I soon became curious and went to our garage where there were medical documents sorted away. I went ahead and pulled out Lily's annual physical documents and noticed how drastically her weight had gone down. At 12, she was 5'3" and 130 pounds, and then at 14, she was 5'4" and 110 pounds. I knew something was really wrong and something just didn't feel right. As I was putting documents away, my mind kept running. I went to the fridge and curiously checked the groceries we had in there. We had groceries, but I noticed that the stuff we had was entirely new. Obviously, with a family of 5, we had a lot of groceries, but everything was completely new from the day before. I pushed it out of my mind, but I made a mental note about it. Over the next few weekends, I noticed that Lily became more withdrawn, and our other girls were acting out more. They were still younger, but the tantrums were almost daily. It wasn't just tantrums, they were screaming matches and lots of slamming doors and hitting things. This hadn't happened until recently, and I noticed that Lily often had to break up the fights and would manage to calm down her sisters better than May or I. Suddenly, a few months ago, one morning our youngest June woke up in agonizing pain, and we were going to take her to the hospital. But May insisted that she will go with June and I will stay home with our other 2 daughters so that when they got up, we could go to the ER and they wouldn't be panicked. I helped June to the car and May drove off hurriedly. I went back indoors before I noticed that May had left her phone. This sounds like a bad movie, doesn't it? We had an open phone policy and I was going to look away before I saw a notification pop up. It was from her sister. At first, I was going to walk away, but I checked the message and my whole world changed. Her sister had been warning May to stop the affair because if I found out, it would ruin everything. Of course, I was confused. What just happened? Inclined, I scrolled back and looked in horror to see that May was admitting to her sister that she missed being with who we will call Derek and that he made her feel so much like a woman when they were together. Messages said that she couldn't wait for her library meetings with him and that she knew it was wrong, but she started to fall in love with him. Hurriedly, I went out other messages and looked for Derek, but there was no contact. I looked into a search bar and typed Derek, and lo and behold, under a different alias named Jenny, there were nudes, sexting, and plans to meet up almost every evening of the week when I was away on business trips. I was so disgusted and I didn't know what to do, but logically, I needed to ensure I had this contact, so I wrote down the number and information and put the message screen back to her sister. Suddenly, this life I had thought I was leading was crumbling down. An affair for how long? Was it just him? Was it sexual, emotional? Have my girls seen him? So many questions running through my mind, and behind the anger, I felt blame. If I had spent more time with May, then she wouldn't have to chase another man. After 20 minutes, I woke up the girls and we all went to the ER. On the way, I got a call from the hospital asking if I was June's father, and I said yes, and it turned out she had acute appendicitis and was in surgery. I didn't relay this to my girls who were already sleepy, and we just rode in silence with my thoughts and this whole thing. I couldn't be mad at the moment. I had to be there for June. Thankfully, June was okay and was allowed to go home after 3 days. I took off from work for the week and spent as much time with my girls as possible. May had her exam coming up and she would say goodbye to me every night at 6:30. She wanted to kiss me goodbye, but it was always painful when I knew that she kissed Derek with those same lips every night. On Thursday, when she left, Lily came out of her room and came to my room. She was tired and looked like she had been crying. I asked her what was wrong, and she admitted to me that she had seen Derek before in our house. She said him by name. Lily had been thinking of telling me for some time, but was always so scared. However, she was sick of it. Not just that, oh no, there was so much I was missing. What Lily said to me was heartbreaking. She admitted to me that ever since she was 5, she had to play mom. May apparently locked herself in her room all day and either slept or ate. There were periods where Lily wouldn't see May for up to 3 days at a time. Food would get so low that Lily would have to make 3 to 4 trips to the grocery store and back on her bike just to get a decent amount of groceries. She had been learning to cook but wasn't very good at it. Additionally, she felt like her mom never liked her. She said she had tried to talk to May on various occasions about depression symptoms, but her mom always said that what she was feeling was normal. Then Lily said she was worried about her weight to May, and May said that Lily wasn't at her ideal body weight yet and she needed to continue restricting meals. Yes, you heard that right. She was telling Lily to have 1 meal a day, that being lunch. Lily had tennis for 6 hours a day, biked close to 10 miles, swam for 2 hours, and then had to watch over her siblings. I was sick. I wanted to throw things. I wanted to scream at May. I wanted to divorce her and sue her, and everything was so red. Lily said she hadn't told me because she was scared to, and God, everything now was making sense. I told Lily that this would be the last time that May did anything like that to her, and that if she wanted, I could put her into counseling to talk about her feelings. She begged me to not say anything or do anything or else it would ruin the family. She said that she would ruin the family, but I told her that this has gone too far. I told her I loved her and that I would make sure that she couldn't be hurt anymore. She asked me to promise her, and I did. It was when May got back that I wanted to tell her that I knew everything, but I decided to wait until the next day when the girls were gone. Well, the day came, and when the girls were gone, I confronted May about the cheating. She denied it at first, saying that I was being ridiculous and that she would never cheat on me. However, I had prepared for this. I had messaged her sister prior to our discussion, and her sister had admitted to me that she couldn't hide this any longer. I also had her boyfriend's number written down. When I asked May about the number, she denied it. But when I asked if I could put the phone number in the search bar for her phone, she hesitated greatly before giving her phone to me. I put in the number and the messages came up. Suddenly, May was crying, begging me to not leave her and that I was everything to her. She would end the affair, that it was only because I was gone so much, and she had to take care of the children. I then screamed at her, asking her about the days she locked herself in her room, where the girls had to ask friends for rides to their schools because she couldn't get out of bed. I asked her why she didn't get Lily counseling, why Lily had to be the mom that she wasn't. May was crying and said that if I left her, she would take her life. To say I was surprised would be an understatement. May suddenly went to the kitchen and grabbed a large knife, putting it to her throat and threatening to take her life right then and there. I pleaded for her to put the knife away, but she said she would only do that if I forgave her. She said she would stop the affair and be a better mother, but I had to forgive her to do so. I said I forgave her, and then she cried into my shirt, saying thank you. This was 2 weeks ago. Now, I am not sure what to do. I have started looking into divorce attorneys and alternate places to go with my girls. My business schedule is so busy that it will be incredibly difficult for me to get remote work, but I have emailed my boss explaining my situation. The issue I am having is that all our family is over 16 hours away. I haven't told my parents, I haven't told anyone besides Reddit now. I want to divorce May and take my daughters. I have found a cheap 2-bedroom condo that is on sale. I sent out an email asking the landlord how much it would be to move in as soon as possible. I can't mess with our accounts at the moment or else May will become suspicious. It's so difficult having to do this because May has reminded me that I forgave her and that we should move on for the sake of the girls. She apparently broke it off with Derek, but I think she's still with him. I feel stuck between a rock and a hard place. I hope to update when my boss gets back to me. Sorry if this was a rant and ramble. I have no one to share this with in real life, and I feel like my world is falling apart. I am home right now taking a few remote days so I can watch over my daughter. I don't know what it is like being a single dad. I will have to fight tooth and nail to make sure that I even get my girls. May can easily concoct a story saying that I was abusive and that she should have the girls because I am often away on work and am not willing to co-parent with her. I don't know. Thanks for listening. Update. I apologize if this is not the right way to update. I am not really sure how to update it, if it is making a new post or editing the other one. Truthfully, I am not very used to Reddit. Additionally, I am sorry if it has taken this long to update. Things have been moving quite slowly to my dismay. So I want to thank everyone for your encouraging words and advice. It really has helped me clear my head and start to formulate a plan of what to do. Though I am still a little uncertain of my future, I have decided to take all of your guys' advice and hire a private investigator. There have been no exact pictures or updates as of yet, but they said they would hope to get back to me at the end of this week. Additionally, I have set up a few hidden cameras in my bedroom, the door entrance, the kitchen, and the garage. It took a while to rig, but they have been tracking the house for a few days now. With me being home for quite a bit, May has not had the opportunity to possibly meet with Derek. She has made clear guidelines that until she gets her license, she will be out between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Do I still think she is cheating on me during those times? Yes, I do. But at those moments, I try to make plans with my girls and spend some alone time with them. This could be watching one of their favorite movies, making a fort and reading books, having a campfire and roasting marshmallows, or going to the pool to night swim. I think they have been enjoying the times we have with each other. Lily says that she really appreciates the time we have together. She also said that June and Abby also have been enjoying the moments. It makes me feel incredibly guilty about the times I have not been there for them due to my business trips. The next issue I am having is that my boss wants me to start flying for trips again. This job pays good money, but I have started to look into other companies that would be able to accommodate my situation. The position I work in is very niche and difficult to find, so many companies are consistently looking for someone to fill in this role or have another one of these positions on board. For the update part, there has not been a lot going on. However, I did reach out to Jane and told her that we needed to discuss. She instantly knew what I was talking about and said that she would not be able to talk until next week, but she would be willing to answer any questions I have. To be honest, there are a lot of questions running through my head, but I can't seem to put them down in a notepad or anything. Jane knows May has done something, and I think the guilt is starting to eat at her. I am hoping that when we call, I will be able to have my questions formatted so it is ask and answer. I am thinking of recording the call, but I am not sure if that would be okay. As for May, she has resumed being fine. I have made an effort to ask her to get in counseling. I even offered marriage counseling. I know that we won't be married once I have things sorted out, but I want to try and understand why she has done this to our family. Maybe she just doesn't care about what we have built. However, I have made a promise to myself and my girls that I will try every route to ensure that nothing ever happens to them again. I am sorry that this update is not more thrilling or exciting, but I thought you guys deserved an update. I hope the next time I post, I will have better news. Again, thank you everyone for your input. It really knocked me to my feet and realizing that this is not something all in my eyes. My daughters are my priority. Thanks again. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, GamerSupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.